Greetings, this is Dr. David Roots, Dr. Living Roots, coming at you. We've got a beautiful presentation today where we're going to be talking about chlorophyll, the elixir of life. When you're talking about the foundation of life on this earth, in general, because there are some exceptions, but in general we're talking about plants, okay? Green plants. Okay? The English will say plants, the Americans will say plants. We're talking about the green organisms, trees and herbs, flowers that grow. And within those organisms that grow, they have different pigments. One in particular, which is attracting so much attention in modern day science, but has been for decades. This is not a new thing, okay? For decades, people have known the power, the healing power of chlorophyll. And when you look at I have some nice examples in front of us. I have some spinach, some kale, and the master key parsley. It's looking a bit wilted right now. I've had it in the fridge, a bunch of it in the refrigerator. And I also have some nasturtium flowers. Okay, hopefully you can see that. Nasturtium plant. That's really just for decoration. They're edible, of course. But back to chlorophyll, modern science is starting to really, as I said, it's a long history of people's knowledge that chlorophyll and green plants in general are very healing, okay? And when we say healing, we're talking about not just nutrition, we're talking about the ability to cure disease. That's what we're talking about in regards to healing. So this isn't just about eating some plant matter for nutritional base. This is about using plants and the elixir for healing. And modern science is starting to really be able to examine that in detail. And I'm going to show a few articles online. I'll cut to it while I'm talking. Modern science is showing that chlorophyll has many proven, research is starting to prove what a lot of people have been just doing, you know, anecdotally for years. In particular, that big C word, and I'm not talking about COVID, but cancer, okay? And so chlorophyll and its derivatives are starting to, scientists are starting to do the research and realize what role chlorophyll can play, not just in prevention, but also in helping to cure cases. Now, I am not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, I am a scientist. However, this is not medical advice, so please go and do your own research, okay, before making any changes in your diet and so on and so on. And please go and research chlorophyll, research the different herbs or plants that we're using, because plants and herbs are just the same thing, isn't it? So, you remember way back when it was the wheatgrass craze, and then a lot of people started to have issues with their stomach because of wheatgrass and some of the different components that were found in wheatgrass, okay? It doesn't have to be complicated getting your chlorophyll, okay? Every morning first thing I do is I drink a glass of water, okay? You know, normally a glass, something like that, all right? And so that helps to, you know, lubricate the system, help to cleanse your urinary tract, get your kidneys going. So that's what I do in the mornings. Now, to get your chlorophyll in on a regular basis, you don't have to go and buy an expensive smoothie. You don't have to go and get any wheatgrass shots. You can simply do what we're going to do today, okay? To get a sample, a good amount of chlorophyll in you. And it's more about consistency. It's not about taking all of this stuff for one day and then you forget about it. It's about consistency. And I'm sure that you will see improvements in your skin, You know, we all need improvements in our skin. My skin isn't perfect. You should see improvements in your nutrient base within your blood, and you know, in your bowels, different things. Okay, but particularly if you're dealing with specific diseases, chlorophyll and getting more chlorophyll into your diet, particularly live. So you can go and buy chlorophyll extracts, but we're talking about, you know, chlorophyll that is undegraded, because we are going to be making it right there and then. So I just have some things in front of me. As I said, I have the spinach, I have the kale, and I have parsley, which we're going to talk about in a minute. I have some nasturtium, which grows wild. Right now I'm in Bermuda. Grows wild nasturtium. You can eat the flowers, you can eat the leaves. Okay, we're not going to use this. Maybe I might use it. I have picked some fresh loquats, which I'm going to eat afterwards, which is a fruit. Very sweet right now. Okay, so we're living in a bit of paradise, isn't it? I just got these from the shop, organic as much as possible. I'm pretty sure the kale and the spinach are organic. The parsley maybe not so much, but we're just going to use that for now. Now, why did I choose these three plants? These are some of the most nutritious, vitamin-containing, mineral-containing plants, okay, that you can find. There is this toss-up that kale is, in particular, the king of the green plants, isn't it? So we have some kale, we have spinach, and we have some parsley. And I just want to talk about the nutrient content. So we look at kale, for example. Kale is good because they say it's much lower in oxalic acid than spinach. Kale has very high vitamin A, good for the eyes. We know vitamin A is very good for the eyes. We're talking about lots of the B vitamins. Vitamin C, 145% per 100 grams. We're not going to get that much, obviously, because we're just going to juice it. But it's in there in high amounts. Vitamin E, vitamin K, calcium, lots of minerals, calcium, iron, magnesium, pretty high in manganese. Let's look at spinach. Spinach, much higher in terms of the iron. Manganese is also still very high. The vitamin C is only 34% compared to kale, which had very high amounts of vitamin C. Vitamin A, not as high as the kale either. So it seems like kale is coming out on top. Both of them high in vitamin K. Spinach more so. Spinach has 460%. Vitamin K, very important for strong bones, for making sure the blood flows properly. And that flow of bloods, now they say you need to be careful with vitamin K if you're on warfarin, which is meant to be a blood thinner. So you need to look up the contradictions in regards to that, okay? But very high in vitamin K, very important. Now, oxalic acid, they say spinach is high in, which you can reduce it via cooking. But the reality is that the oxalic acids, which they say block absorption of calcium and iron, is not really going to be that high unless you're eating huge amounts. Spinach is highly nutrient dense. But if we look at parsley now, okay, parsley, people are sleeping on parsley. So vitamin A in parsley, 53% per 100 grams. And when we compare that to kale, the so-called super green, which was 30%, much higher. Okay, so let's go back to parsley. 1,562% in terms of vitamin K, extremely high in vitamin K. Vitamin C, 160% compared to kale, which is 145%. Okay, let's see what else stands out. Lots of the B vitamins. Iron, 48% in parsley, compared to in kale, 12%, and in spinach, 21%. Okay, so we can see that parsley is one of the zinc also, which we know during this time of COVID-19 and Corona, the link between zinc and vitamin D in having your immune system function properly. I think that parsley is one of the greens that people are sleeping on. Okay, obviously if you're pregnant or if you have some other, issues, then please make sure you're doing your research, and we are not going to do an overkill, and I'm going to explain why. So let's get to actually how to do it. Like I said, it doesn't need to be complicated. I just have a little food processor here. If you have a little like a bullet or a little blender or something, you can do the same thing. Okay, so I'm just going to take this, very simple, has a little blade on it. The blade locks in, okay, like that. Okay, and I'm going to use, just because of this, it tends to leak, so I'm just going to use about half a cup of water. I don't want too much water because I don't want it to leak, but if you wanted a glassful and yours had a proper top, then you could do that. Okay, in fact, I'm going to, so let's start with the spinach first. Okay, I'm just going to put the spinach in. Remember, we're talking about extracting the chlorophyll. Okay, the chlorophyll can easily come out. If you take the take the leaf and you crush that leaf and you rub it on a white piece of paper, you'll see that chlorophyll. But we want to extract it. Okay, and we're going to use this in the morning, so we're just going to drink that. So we have that spinach. Okay, I'm not going to use too much. Complicated. Put that on. Oops, need to water. That would be helpful. Okay, so excuse me for the noise. Just going to blend it up very quickly. Okay. Now normally I have a strainer for this part, so I'm just going to, in this case I'm just going to use a piece of cheesecloth, strainer cloth that I've washed already. Just take that off. You could go for longer, but for the purposes of the video, let's take that off. Okay. Oops. Take the bag, squeeze the bag out. And look at that. You've got your chlorophyll extracted. That beautiful green color. The bag is permeable, so there are lots of fiber in here as well. You're getting lots of the greens as well, but it's not in a form where you need to chew it and eat it and bulk it down like that. Okay. Now, just for today's purposes, we're going to do all three. Okay, I'm going to do all three. Now, it's a bit messy because I'm trying to work in a tight corner, so apologies for this. I'm going to do the kale now. It's good because we'll compare the colors. Get my glass. About that much. Blitz it up again, see if I can get this to work. This thing's a bit finicky, this little blender. Here we go. Now the kale, you can even feel when the blender is going that it's a much more tougher greens, a lot more fiber, other things. This is Dr. David Roots, Living Roots, keeping it real. So let's see. Yeah, a lot more fiber. And normally I'd have a wire strainer. Okay. I needed a bit more water with that one. So just put that in. Making a bit of a mess here. Just squeeze that out. You can compare the two. Here's the spinach. Here's the kale. Spinach is much greener, you can see. But both high, got that lots of chlorophyll in it. Let me just give this a rinse. Okay, and one more. Parsley, where are you? So, we talked about the parsley. Now, normally in the morning, I'm not going to do all three of these. I'm just probably going to do one of them. Okay? So, in the morning, I'm just going to do one of them. And I'm going to rotate. That's my system. I'm going to have the parsley for, let's say, 5 to 7 days, and then I'll switch to kale, and then I'll switch back to spinach, okay? Rather than doing something and overdoing it, and as they said, you don't want to overdo it on spinach, but also give your body a chance to adapt to different things, and maybe you might stop for a week. You know, maybe instead of doing this, you can just put some cucumber in or strawberries, but I want to get this chlorophyll and be consuming it on a regular basis. Alright, so let's do the parsley now. Make sure that's in. Let's do the parsley. Let's see if this works. Yeah. To get my bag. Apologies, it's got lots of residue in this. Let's move some things around. Okay, normally I would have this washed out, but just for today, I'm just gonna use it as it is. Okay. You can smell all of the polyphenols and things from the parsley. I needed a better puree, a better blender for the parsley. Definitely needed something better to chop the parsley up. Let's move that out of the way. Let's move that back to where it is. Put that right there. Squeeze that out. Okay, and definitely not as green as the spinach. Okay. However, if I had a better blender, I'm sure I can get more, but it's definitely still got that chlorophyll in it. Okay, So we're talking about chlorophyll, and what I'm going to do, in fact, I'm going to just combine all of them, because I already know what they taste like. You're going to go and taste them all and, you know, see how they make you feel. And we're talking about chlorophyll as this elixir, okay, elixir of life. Not only because the green plants that it comes from are associated as being the producers of the world, okay, meaning living things depend on these green plants in order to start the food chain. And chlorophyll, as we know, you know, sometimes in the morning when the sun's shining, I'll put my glass in front of the sunlight just to activate the chlorophyll. But to be honest, I don't want the chlorophyll to start photosynthesizing and producing glucose. I just want that chlorophyll, isn't it? All right? But that chlorophyll is found in all of these green plants, and we know how nutritious green plants are, but the healing power of chlorophyll used topically, people using it on the skin and realizing the healing power, okay? As well as now, as we said, research is starting to show the power of chlorophyll as it is used to fight against disease. In particular, that big C word that really is devastating all communities, much more than COVID, and that's cancer. And potentially this can help a lot in regards to that, as well as other immune-based autoimmune types of diseases. Okay, so I'm going to combine mine. So I've got my parsley, and imagine if you did this every morning. Okay, you just had, after you had your glass of water, or even this could be a glass of water, you had a green drink. It's really quick. It's not complicated. That's what I'm going to have. All right, I'm going to have this, then I'm going to have my loquats, all right? And I know this is going to give my body some very powerful healing elements. We haven't even mentioned or even really gone into the chemistry behind it, the polyphenols, which is the things that you smell in addition to the chlorophyll that are in these green plants. The high amounts of antioxidants like vitamin C, like vitamin E, that are going to be in this water. Some of them are water soluble, okay, but the ones that aren't, we're also getting parts of the pulp, and our body can break that down as well, okay. So this is a quick and easy way to get your chlorophyll, that sun pigment. Look up the difference between a pigment and a dye. Okay, so pigments absorb light. So that chlorophyll is absorbing light, and the structure of chlorophyll is very close to our own hemoglobin, except that hemoglobin has iron in the middle, and chlorophyll, I believe, has magnesium in the middle. Hence why it could be manganese. You can fact check me on that. Okay, so here's to health. Let's speak life. Speak life. When you read about the masters and you envision the masters and the healing, part of it is knowing what herbs to use and you know, the healing techniques. But part of it also is speaking life and healing. So I speak life and healing. Give thanks. This is Dr. David Roots, aka Dr. Living Roots. Let's live. Living foods. How's it taste? It tastes like water with plants. Green plants. Chlorophyll. That's that chlorophyll taste. And I'm sure after I drink this, make sure you have a toilet nearby, okay? Because you will probably have to go, and your kidneys will start working. Give thanks.